Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. This is a B1 level writing lesson. And today we're going to be working on writing an email to give job advice. All right, so what do you know about the snow leopard or this region of the world near uh, Mongolia, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan? What do you know about this region? And the snow leopard habitat are the areas colored in orange. So Isaac is a professor at a university. The university is looking for someone to do research. Here's some information about Isaac. He's a professor of biology. He's passionate about conservation. He has 10 years experience studying snow leopards. He has traveled extensively in China and northern Pakistan, and he speaks basic Chinese, Urdu, and Khowar. And here is a job advertisement. So Royal University is looking for enthusiastic biology students to participate in its snow leopard conservation project. Snow leopards live in the mountains of Central Asia, and their numbers are falling because of poaching and loss of habitat. This innovative program has been running for 10 years and has already provided information which has proved to be invaluable in protecting these endangered animals. If you are a talented PhD student who is looking for a research project with a different angle, this is a unique opportunity. It's not every day you get the chance to make a direct contribution to the survival of a species. So this part of the article gives details about what the researcher will do on a daily basis. So you're going to read the text and then answer the questions. You can pause the video and read on your own, or you can follow along as I read. You will have the opportunity to study these beautiful creatures in the wild. We use cutting-edge technology such as high-resolution remote sensor cameras and GPS tracking devices, which enable us to discover more about these animals than ever before. You will visit the snow leopard's habitat, check and maintain our equipment, and carry out surveys with local people about recent sightings. Our research students also spent a considerable amount of time analyzing the data to help us plan new conservation efforts. Ideal candidates for this program will have a love of the outdoors, together with extensive theoretical knowledge and an inventive approach. So what tasks will the researcher carry out? So visiting the snow leopard's habitat, checking and maintaining the equipment, and carrying out surveys with local people. They'll also spend time analyzing the data to help plan new conservation efforts. And what personal qualities are needed for the candidate to be successful in this program? So someone who loves the outdoors and has an extensive theoretical knowledge and an innovative approach. So at the end of the article, Isaac mentions what previous participants have learned. Previous participants in this program found their experience to be extremely rewarding. Many of our most effective strategies were originally suggested and implemented by PhD students who were given the freedom to experiment with their ideas. These former students have now gone on to lead pioneering research teams that study wildlife all over the world. So what did previous participants gain from the program? They had the freedom to experiment with their ideas, and it helped them go on to lead pioneering research teams and to suggest and implement conservation strategies. So Matthias is not a biology student, but his friends Matthew and April are, so he wrote them an email. Hi, I know that you are both thinking about what to study for your PhD, and I've just come across an exciting opportunity that might interest you. Royal University has a program called the Snow Leopard Conservation Project, and they are looking for participants. I think you should take a look at it. You would study the animals, interact with people who live in the region, and help protect a beautiful wild species. I'm pretty sure this would be a rewarding experience. You'd have a chance to make a positive difference in these animals' lives. Imagine how much you would learn. If I were you, I'd click on the link in my email and read the program outline. I expect that it would be a challenging thing to do, but you both love working outdoors and working with animals. I think you should seriously consider it. It would be a wonderful way to advance a career in biology. What do you think? Does it sound like a good idea, Matthias? So, as well as including information about the project, Matthias wanted to make suggestions and give advice. And here are some expressions to give advice and suggestions. I think you should. I'm pretty sure that you'd have a chance to. If I were you, and I expect that. So here's an ad that you've seen before for a ranch hand. And so go ahead and practice reading through this and then give some advice using the prompts. You have a friend who would be perfect for the job, and what advice can you give? And if you'd like to put some of your sentences in the comments in order to get some feedback and generate some discussion, that would be great. All right, so now we're going to listen to the first part of this recording and then answer the questions. What does Rachel talk about, and what spurred her into action?
My name is Rachel O'Donovan, and I'm a nurse. When I was growing up, I always knew I wanted to help people. When I finished school, I started training to become a nurse. When I had completed the course, I started working in the emergency department of a busy city hospital. I had heard of people working overseas as nurses on a voluntary basis, and then one day, I saw news of another humanitarian disaster on the TV. It spurred me into action.
All right, so she talks about how she became a nurse and how she wanted to help people. And what spurred her into action was a news program, a television news program about a humanitarian disaster. So around the world, people do humanitarian work to improve the lives of other people. Many positions in humanitarian organizations are volunteer. You do not receive money for working. Humanitarian organizations often operate in conflict zones where living conditions are extremely difficult. People in the humanitarian field often train others. Education and training play an important role in humanitarian organizations, and refugees often need assistance with food, shelter, and medical care. All right, now you'll listen to Rachel and answer these questions as true or false.
My name is Rachel O'Donovan, and I'm a nurse. When I was growing up, I always knew I wanted to help people. When I finished school, I started training to become a nurse. When I had completed the course, I started working in the emergency department of a busy city hospital. I had heard of people working overseas as nurses on a voluntary basis, and then one day, I saw news of another humanitarian disaster on the TV. It spurred me into action. I was offered a job with a well-known company, and I signed a 9-month contract. My parents were horrified because they thought it looked very dangerous. As I watched the news reports on the TV, I thought they might be right. I attended a 1-week training course, which was designed to help prepare me for my new position, providing emergency medical care to refugees. I remember feeling a mixture of excitement and apprehension, and I wondered whether I'd be able to cope with the task that lay ahead.
Right, so look at the answers. Rachel had experience working in the emergency department of a hospital. That's true. When she saw a program about a humanitarian disaster, she decided to do something. That's true. She signed a 12-month contract. That's false. It was a 9-month contract. Rachel's parents were pleased that she was going to do humanitarian work. False. Her parents were horrified because they thought it was very dangerous. Rachel attended a 2-month training course. That's false. It was a 1-week course. In her new job, she was going to train refugees to work as doctors. That's false. She provided emergency medical care to refugees. And before starting her new job, she felt both excited and apprehensive. That is true. So at the start of the recording, which two adjectives does Rachel use to describe the work? What did Rachel develop and gain? Which people does she recommend this position to? And at the end of the recording, which 3 adjectives does she use to describe the work?
The work was very challenging, but extremely rewarding. The in at the deep end approach enabled me to develop skills and gain confidence, which would have taken years in my previous job. In particular, I gained a lot of experience in training student nurses, and this helped to fast-track my career when I returned home. If you are a qualified nurse or doctor who is looking for a new challenge, I would definitely recommend working overseas as a volunteer. It is frustrating, stressful, and exhausting, but you can make an enormous difference in people's lives by sharing your professional knowledge and expertise.
So the 2 adjectives that she uses at the beginning of the recording are challenging and rewarding. She developed skills and gained confidence. She recommends qualified nurses or doctors who are looking for a new challenge. And at the end of the recording, the adjectives she uses are frustrating, stressful, and exhausting. Now you'll listen to the entire recording and take down some notes about the following. What experience would be beneficial for this position? What will you do on the job? What will you learn on the job? Why is this job rewarding? Who is this job suitable for? And what are some of the challenges of the job?
My name is Rachel O'Donovan, and I'm a nurse. When I was growing up, I always knew I wanted to help people. When I finished school, I started training to become a nurse. When I had completed the course, I started working in the emergency department of a busy city hospital. I had heard of people working overseas as nurses on a voluntary basis, and then one day, I saw news of another humanitarian disaster on the TV. It spurred me into action. I was offered a job with a well-known company, and I signed a 9-month contract. My parents were horrified because they thought it looked very dangerous. As I watched the news reports on the TV, I thought they might be right. I attended a 1-week training course, which was designed to help prepare me for my new position, providing emergency medical care to refugees. I remember feeling a mixture of excitement and apprehension, and I wondered whether I'd be able to cope with the task that lay ahead. The work was very challenging, but extremely rewarding. The in at the deep end approach enabled me to develop skills and gain confidence, which would have taken years in my previous job. In particular, I gained a lot of experience in training student nurses, and this helped to fast-track my career when I returned home. If you are a qualified nurse or doctor who is looking for a new challenge, I would definitely recommend working overseas as a volunteer. It is frustrating, stressful, and exhausting, but you can make an enormous difference in people's lives by sharing your professional knowledge and expertise.
If you've taken those notes, then go ahead and look at Matisse's email again. And here's an outline for how you can put it together. He starts off with why he is writing, what he is writing about, um, what his friends would do in this position, and then he would give some advice and recommendations. So then you can use your notes and the outline of Matthias's email to write an email to a friend named Shay that you think would be perfect for the job, the position, or the volunteer position that Rachel did. And you want to include the following: say why you're writing, what the opportunity is, and some details about it, what the person would do in the job and why it would suit Shay, give advice and recommendations, and then here are some expressions you can use to give advice. And if you would like, you can share your email in the comments and generate some feedback from the other members of the community. And that brings us to the end of today's video. So please like, subscribe, share, leave comments, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.